What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. And if you guys are watching this on the replay, well, happy whatever day. Maybe it's a Wednesday. Maybe it's a Thursday. Maybe a Friday. Hey, just wanted to welcome you if you are watching this on the replay or if you are here live, well, welcome. And I'm going to give it a minute or so and let this feed go live where I can actually see that everyone is coming on. But let me just say what we're going to be talking about today. There's something that I put together. I always like a visual, right? I like a visual that when I am, whether it's building something, right? I need a set of plans, or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I want to kind of see like, what are the big rocks, right? Like, what are the big things that we should be focusing on or that we should give our attention, right? Because let's face it, we are in a world right now that we have more than enough information being thrown at us right now. And some of it is great. Some of it makes us confused. Some of it makes us feel like we're missing out. And really what I want to do here today is I want to give you guys what I'm calling, it's actually called the brand wheel of awesomeness. And I just kind of came up with that, but I wanted to share that with you because it's a visual that will represent exactly how I think. And I actually just wrote an email literally about 5 minutes ago. I finished it up. It took me about a half hour, 45 minutes to write it. Some of you may have already gotten that in your inbox, but I really talked about that in this email because a lot of us are feeling overwhelmed. We're feeling like we're going to miss out if we don't jump on the newest, latest trend. And let me just ask you guys this before we do jump into this, this brand wheel of awesomeness that I'm going to share with you guys. Do you feel at times that you're going to miss out because you're not doing this other thing, right? That you might see that you want to do that eventually, but you're thinking to yourself, man, I really should be doing that. Right, man, that looks like people are starting to really jump in on that. And I should probably do that for my brand. And so that's a trap. I look at that as like, that is a trap that a lot of us can fall into. And I'm here today to hopefully wake you up a little bit and say, wait a minute here. Let's look at this over here. Let's look at the big rocks. Let's look at the big things that we could be and should be working on and why. And why, after you see what I'm about to share with you and explain to you, hopefully it'll make you go, you know what, Scott, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you made your point. And I think I'm going to follow what you are saying. Now, I'm not here telling you that you should jump on the next trend because I think trends could get you in trouble. And what I mean by that is you jump in on something that's hot right now and then all of a sudden that just goes away, right? That's why we want to diversify, whether it's our traffic, whether it's our revenue streams in our business. We want to do that because we don't want to rely on one thing, right? And that goes for everything. That goes for traffic. That goes for products that you're selling, right? It goes for all of that stuff. So that's really what I'm going to be talking about here today. So let me just go ahead and welcome some of our brand rockers, some of our morning crew here. What's up, Debbie? How are you doing? Octavio, what's up? Good morning, Karen. Lots of needed rain. Good for you. Lena, what's up? Good morning to you. Karen, happy hump day. What's up, Karen? Awesome. Phil, good morning. Let's see. Octavio says yes. So I'm assuming that's like the overwhelm or, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm going to miss out. So yeah, that is a common thing that a lot of people feel. And Octavio, I know your business personally because you're inside of Brand Creators Academy. And I know that it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like we're going to miss out. But I think if you put it into the right frame, the right container, if you will, and that's what I'm hoping to do here today, that you'll realize you can turn away from those things. You can say no. And I mean, there's a lot of people that have said that, like saying no and saying yes to less is actually more powerful because then you stay focused on what you're doing. And I look at this like, okay, a business And I actually probably should kick this thing off, right? Let's end up doing that. I may turn this into a podcast episode, so maybe I'll just go ahead and start this as if we were going to start from scratch. But let me just go ahead and do that because I think it makes the most sense. All right, guys. So like I said, today I want to talk about this thing I'm calling the brand wheel of awesomeness. And the way I look at it is there's a whole bunch of different things that we can be focusing on. We want to focus on the main things and also things that are not going to ultimately change. Okay. And what I mean by that is when we're jumping on a trend, right? I'm going to use TikTok, right? You might be hearing, oh my gosh, you got to get in on TikTok. TikTok's got a lot of traffic there and people are starting to really get a lot of attention. They're getting a lot of traffic. But is that a trend? Or do you think that TikTok is going to be here in 5 or 10 years? It may be, but what's been proven that's been around is good old Google, right? And would you agree that in 5 years from now that Google will probably still be here and that you'll probably still be using Google? And what are we doing on Google? We're searching for information, right? So everything that we've been talking about here, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on a coffee talk, you've probably been hearing me talk, a lot about creating evergreen assets, right? Assets that allow us to plant a seed and have it live on for a very long time. If you put up a TikTok video, it might take off, but is that going to be really found a year from now? 3 years from now, 5 years from now? Probably not, right? Even if the platform still exists, your piece of content's probably not going to be there, right? It's there, but no one's looking for it, right? It's got to go viral, right? It's got to be one of those things. And we've all seen viral videos and they're there and they might have a little bit of a run and then they die out. Okay. And that's a good little surge, but we better be doing the other things on the back end that allow our business to grow and thrive and stay steady and consistent, right? So that's kind of what I'm talking about here is like not jumping on the trend. Also looking at what are the things in your business that you're putting your time and energy in? Are those things that are short-term growth or long-term growth, right? And so another example is Instagram, right? If you have an Instagram account, you are trying to get followers, right? And if you're getting followers, are those people actually going to come over and consume your information? So now let's say that we are going down the route of I'm going to build an Instagram account and try to get 20,000 people to follow me. And then out of those 20,000, if you look at the numbers, they're like less than 1% that will actually see your stuff, right? So you're going to put all this time and energy into this thing that you got to keep feeding, right? You got to keep feeding the Instagram, right? You got to keep feeding it. So I'm always looking at, does that make the most sense? Or does creating content that resides on Google and Yahoo and Bing, does that make sense? What one would be a better use of my time, right? So that's what I'm looking at there. Then the next thing would be like, okay, let's say, for example, you say, you know what? I want to go ahead and I want to go and start using LinkedIn, right? Okay. LinkedIn, probably better than an Instagram in my opinion, but still, we're still trying to get attention over here that we got to feed this thing that can hopefully be evergreen and come back, right? So I'm always looking at those things, right? So that's like getting the attention piece. That's like the traffic piece, right? So to me, there's like two things. There's two things. One, well, actually, you know what? Let me do this. If you guys are listening to the podcast, I want you to think to yourself, what are those two things? And I'm going to give this a second here. I want to know inside of the comments here, does anyone know what those two main things are that we should be focusing on in our business? Two main things. I want you guys to let me know. And if you guys are listening to this, I want you to think to yourself and come up with those two things, and we'll see if you're right. And then I'm going to dive into those two things, and then we'll explore how to really focus on these main things in our business and in our brand. So while you're doing that, again, let me just kind of cement this point in, right? There's a lot of shiny objects. There's a lot of things that we could do, but you got to ask yourself, is that going to help the business long-term or short-term? Okay. Is it bringing more, more traffic back to the business. It's bringing revenue back to the business, right? So ask yourself those questions whenever you're thinking about doing this, right? So Octavio says a goodwill and providing value. Okay. That's really good. I like that we're adding goodwill, and what Octavio is saying, like we're adding value to the marketplace. So anytime we add value, I'm here right now, either you're listening to this on a podcast or you're listening to this on a coffee talk, watching a replay, or you're here live, it doesn't matter, right? This is a piece of goodwill content. This is where I'm showing up and I'm helping you in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully you're going to walk away and be like, man, I'm so glad that I listened to that today, because Scott really opened my eyes to this concept about like not getting overwhelmed with all of the shiny objects, but also what should I be focusing on? And I'm giving you a different lens to look through, right? This is goodwill, right? And providing value is still part of the goodwill piece. So it's right in a sense that that's what we want to do, Octavio, but it's not the right answer. All right. So now Anthony, on the other hand, is really close. Super close. Traffic and profits. So Anthony is the closest. So what I am looking at, the two things I'm looking at is traffic. How are we getting traffic to our brand? How are we getting the traffic to our brand? So if we think about it, right, let's just take all of the different things that you can do to get traffic, right? You can do blogging, right? Blog content. You can do YouTube videos. You can do Twitter. You can do Instagram, right? You can do Pinterest. You can do Facebook, right? You can do LinkedIn, right? You can do Messenger on Facebook, right? So it's a different way of getting the traffic and the attention, right? You can do that, right? So you can, like I said, I think I already said it, TikTok, right? You can do TikTok. You can do Snapchat, right? You could does anybody remember, oh gosh, what was the name of the, I was using it there for a little bit. Oh, Periscope. That was a hot one, right? Remember that? And then Facebook came out with Facebook Lives and then crushed them, right? So what about Periscope? Build up that, right? These are all traffic are ways to get traffic, options, right? These are different things that we can spend our time on, right? So the other thing is I didn't even mention paid ads, right? You got Google, you got Facebook ads, you got YouTube ads, you got all this stuff. We got all these different things, and you probably got different people you're listening to, and they're like, you got to do TikTok, you got to do Instagram, you got to go over here and start your Twitter, like you got to start doing more Twitter, or you need to do Snapchat, whatever, right? You need to do Periscope. Okay. So you're hearing all these things. You're like, oh, wow, I should do that. And oh, wow, I should do that. And oh, I should do that. We don't want to do that all. But what we want to do is what I always look at is what is something that I can do that will live on. Okay. So an example, you're watching this or listening to this right here. I am doing this live for anyone that is here live, but I am also going to take this and I'm going to make it evergreen, because if it was just here on Facebook, okay, it's going to live on for a little bit and then it's going to kind of get buried, right? But if I take this and put it on a podcast, people are going to search on iTunes or, any of the other platforms for podcasting, Stitcher, any of those, Google Play, and they're going to find the podcast and they're going to find this episode. Maybe it's also going to reside on my website where it can be found on Google, right? So all that stuff. But I'm not going on Instagram and spending 3 hours a day to basically build up my following so I can get, an extra 100 people to see my stuff. It's just not worth my time, right? So I'd rather spend the time here, because also what's happening in the background here is anyone that watches this video is becoming part of a custom audience in the background that if I want to run Facebook ads to you, I can, because you've basically let me know that you're interested in this because you're here and you're watching this, right? Now, if you're listening to this on the podcast, that doesn't apply to you. But if you're creating any type of Facebook content that's a video form like this, you can basically go, I want to show ads to anyone that watched 25% or more of this video, right? So again, that's an evergreen piece to me because I can run paid ads to it, I can still use it, or I can take this, put it up on the podcast. I can put it up on the blog, right? But I'm not going to put it up on Instagram and think that it's going to live on Instagram. It's going to be there, but it's going to get buried, right? I'm not going to go and do a TikTok about this episode and start dancing and talking about it because there's an audience there, right? Not going to do that. And if you guys are listening to this, you didn't just see me try to dance. That was terrible. But that's what I want you guys to be thinking about, right? And I'm going to go through the brand wheel of awesomeness here in a minute, but what I'm saying right here goes along with this, all right? The second thing is, yes, profits is it, but I'm really talking about offers, right? The more offers, excuse me, that we can put out into the marketplace in our brand, okay? And these can be our own offers. They could be our own physical product. They could be our own digital product, right? They could be an affiliate offer. And it can just be offers from ad networks displaying on our website, right? So the more offers we add to the marketplace in our name, in our brand, the more chances we have of making money, right? And bringing in revenue. So you see how that is? There's two things, right? So I'm looking at those two things at all times. How do I get the eyeballs without having to feed an algorithm every single day, right? Like Instagram. I'm picking on Instagram because that's one that kind of annoys me, because I see a lot of people falling in the trap that they think they're going to build up this big following, and then they're going to be able to just put an Instagram message out there, and they're going to have thousands of people come over to their stuff. I look at that like, if you're on Instagram and you enjoy it, then sure, go there and then amplify your content. But I wouldn't spend like me personally, I'm not spending my time there, right? To me, it's just not worth my time. It's my time spent other places, right? So the traffic piece is huge, okay? The offers, which leads to profits. So in a sense, Anthony, yes, you were correct, okay? Traffic and profits. And the profits is really, the way that you get more profits is by having more offers, right? So if you guys are listening to this or watching this before September 12th, we are actually going to be teaching this process in a full day event, workshop, Brand Accelerator, live, virtual 2020. Since we've had to postpone that event as far as an in-person event, we've now made it a one-day event, and we're going to be doing a full day workshop focusing on these two areas. Okay. So you see what I just did there? Two areas. That's all I'm focusing on. I'm not focusing on the next trendy thing or the TikTok strategy or this hack or that hack. We're going to be talking about the traffic areas to focus on, the landscape, new and old, right? And then from there, we are going to be breaking down, how do we get our brand out there? How do we create these assets? And we've talked a lot about this on the podcast and on our coffee talks, okay? But we're actually gonna be breaking this down. Then we're gonna go into email list building and email marketing, which is another thing that brings in traffic, which is also a huge focus of ours, right? So that's one I am gonna focus on, right? And so again, that's another piece. So we're gonna talk about that. And then I actually have a guest coming on that's going to break down how she is using email. She's building an email list and then selling a small $10 digital product. And she is generating anywhere between $12,000 and $15,000 a month, driving paid ads to this little $10 offer, right? And so then I'm going to follow that up, and I'm going to teach something I've never taught before, which is going to be a full session dedicated to building your first digital product and selling it within 30 days, right? And then Chris Schaefer is going to come on and follow it up with a whole session on Facebook ads and really what's working now and how to master them in 7 days or less, right? So everything I just described there, it's exactly what we're talking about here, right? Two things: traffic and yes, profits, but really offers. How do we create more offers? And let me just go back to the digital thing for a minute. I actually was on a coaching call yesterday with two of my Brand Creators Academy students, Doug and Ruth. And we had to go over a few things because they have a physical product. They are working on a digital product. They have a lead magnet. And they're kind of like, okay, well, like what's next? Like, I don't want to launch another physical product as of yet. It takes a lot longer and it requires a lot of capital up front. So I'm like, what we need to do is focus on what is your digital product suite. So so many brands aren't focusing on that. They're not giving it enough attention, and they should be. Because do you realize if you've ever tried to sell a physical product or currently sell physical products? I currently have a brand that sells physical products. We're just about ready to close on that deal, by the way, as far as selling it. There's a lot that goes into launching new SKUs. We all know it, right? Logistically crazy, right? With digital, I can roll out a digital offer within days if I want to, and I can test it in the marketplace. And I got no inventory. So if I can build out my digital suite of offers, I have a better chance of bringing in profits, right? So that's another thing that's going to be a pretty big focus here moving into, the last part of 2020 and 2021, because that's what I'm doing, right? It's something that's underutilized and a lot of people aren't taking advantage of it. And the thing is, the reason why is because they're focusing on how do I get 10,000 Instagram followers, or how do I get 10,000 views on my TikTok, right? Or, how do I do the things like that aren't really going to bring in as much as if you were to focus on the traffic assets that actually are evergreen, and then the offers that are evergreen. And then you have a mix of that, right? And then we can do some fun stuff with email marketing. And then we can do some fun stuff with a Facebook ad and create a little mini launch funnel and a deadline sequence. We can do all of these other cool things. Those are what I'd be focused on. I wouldn't be focusing on how to build up my Periscope following, which that's kind of dead, but you get what I'm saying, right? So that's what I'm looking at. All right. So let me go ahead. Oh, actually, I should do this too real quick. If you guys are interested in attending, if you're listening to this before September 12th or even afterwards, I'm pretty sure that the recordings will be available. If you go to baltickets.com, again, that's baltickets.com, and you can go there right now. If you're listening to this before the 12th, for a short while, there's early bird pricing. And then after that, they're still going to be very affordable. But we have two options. We have a live pass where if you just want to show up live, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time to 6 p.m. We also have an after party cocktail hour that we're going to be doing with some Q&A and some special guests and things like that. It's a full day workshop, guys. And the idea here is to really focus on these two areas and not get distracted and really teach what you need to do and get rid of all the fluff. All right. We don't need to go through a 4-week modulated course. We're just going to learn this thing in one day. And then you're going to take one of those pieces and start working on that piece. And then the next one, when you're ready, will be there. Right. But we're going to condense this down so they're actionable workshops. That's actually what we're doing there. So baltickets.com. Again, there's a VIP ticket option also that will give you the recordings so you can attend live or some of the sessions live. And then you can also grab the recordings. And then also we're giving away as a bonus the recordings from Brand Accelerator Live 2019, which was a 2.5-day live event, which was amazing. So if you guys are interested in that, baltickets.com. I should probably put that up on the screen. And if you're listening to this, you don't see that, but it's baltickets.com. All right. So let me pull up my screen real quick. And if you guys are listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to go ahead and describe it. So don't worry about this, but this is what I call the brand wheel of awesomeness. All right. And here's what it looks like. All right. Traffic. Okay. So we have, if you guys are listening to this, I have basically a rectangular page at the very top in yellow, a little yellow block. It says traffic. All right. So we're starting with traffic. Okay. Now, again, I'm assuming that you already have your website built, right? You already have a home base. Okay. And if you have all that in place already, which isn't hard, but if you have that in place, then it's like, okay, now what do we focus on, right? Again, because a lot of people will focus on all of the shiny objects. So here is the breakdown. So we're looking at, on the very top, we see traffic, right? In yellow, in a yellow box. And then down below that, I'm looking at 3 sources of traffic. I'm looking at Google, I'm looking at Pinterest, I'm looking at Facebook. Okay. So there's 3 channels that I'm going to focus on. Now, will I still get traffic on Bing if I post content on my website? Yes. Will I still get some from Yahoo? Yes. Right. I'll get some from those other search engines, any search engine. But the primary one that I'm targeting is Google. Good old Google. We all know Google's going to be here in 5 years from now, right? So I'm going to focus there, right? That's my target. So I'm basically creating content, digital assets that I can put on my website that will get picked up by Google. I'm also looking at Pinterest. Okay. Now, Pinterest, again, is not going to be my primary, but why would I focus on Pinterest? Isn't Pinterest a social media platform? Kinda. But the difference with Pinterest is it's also something that will live on. People search for things on Google and find Pinterest results. Okay. If you go on Pinterest, you're going there to find ideas for your office because you're going to remodel it, or you're going to find backyard games, or you're going to look for DIY, shed, ideas or whatever, right? That's a place that is holding evergreen assets. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our content on Google and we're going to use Pinterest to just bring a little bit more attention to it, right? It's not going to be my main source of traffic, which also, by the way, is something that whether it's Google, Pinterest, Facebook, doesn't matter. We're always still playing in their sandbox. So there's a chance that we could have a problem with Google. We could have a problem with Pinterest. We could have a problem with Facebook or any other channel. It's just the way it is. But once we add something into the mix here, and I'll share that here in a minute, once we get into the wheel, okay? So the wheel isn't necessarily the actual traffic piece, right? Although it is in a sense because we're creating the content. So let me just kind of back up. If you're listening to this, you're not watching this, imagine this. At the very top of the page, we have traffic. Down below that, we have 3 other blocks: Google, Pinterest, Facebook, with an arrow pointing to the very first piece of the wheel. Okay. Now imagine this wheel, and the very first part, top of the wheel, is content. Okay. So I create that piece of content. The second part of this wheel, okay, is email. Okay. Now, why is email the second thing? Because once I develop that piece of content, I have an email list that I can let know about the content. If I have products on that page, if I have, affiliate products, if I have my own products, or maybe there's just ads being served up. When I drive people from my email list to my content, there's a good chance that I can make some money, make some revenue, right? So content, it enters into the wheel, right? And then from there we go email. Okay. And again, email is something I control. So if I am putting content on Google, on Pinterest, on Facebook, I'm always having a lead capture, a lead magnet on my website somewhere, right? To try to capture the email address, because if something happens to Google, I still have my email list. If something happens to Pinterest, still have my email list. Something happens to Facebook, still have my email list, right? That's why that's so important. So number 1 part of the wheel, top of the wheel, is content. The second part of the wheel, which is about halfway down on the right-hand side, is email. Okay. The third part of the wheel is products. Okay. Now these products can be yours. They can be other people's. Doesn't matter. It could be ads that are being served up. They're products for people to buy, right? Those are important because let's face it, we want traffic. We also want revenue. We want to bring in some revenue. I mean, having an email list is great. Having, content is great, but we want to bring in some revenue in the business. We need to keep the lights on, right? So once we have the content, we build that content a lot of times focused on products or serving a market that would lead to a product, right? So the content serves as that goodwill piece, as Octavio was saying here earlier, right? It's that goodwill piece. It's information. And again, it resides on Google. It resides on Pinterest. It resides on Facebook. That could be found later, okay? And more so than any of those is Google, right? Pinterest is great, but Google is the main one that's going to be found later. Email, I can always send to that piece of content. Products. Now, here's the cool thing with products. Let's say I have my products. I've built my content. Forget about the content for a second. What if I just want to do a 4-day flash sale for one of those products, right? Maybe it's a digital product. Maybe it's a physical product. Doesn't matter, right? I can then take my email list and I can say, hey, This Friday, we're going to be doing a flash sale. You should go check it out. Here it is. Ends on Sunday, right? And then we do a little, we call it a little 3-day profit push. It's basically a little campaign that we run, right? So now that I have products, now that I have an email list, I can do that, right? So that's really, really important. Now, the last part of this little wheel, which makes it really awesome, is when people get results. So if people get results using one of your products, now that could be they bought your fishing lure and they caught the biggest bass they've ever caught, right? Now, it's your job to get that, okay? Get that from people as a testimonial or just as someone just sending you an email thanking you, right? Because that there will also drive, okay? It will drive more attention, more traffic. Because here's the cool thing. That person that got results is now a fan of your brand. So let's say you develop a piece of content, right? That content could be about how Joe got results using one of your things, or maybe 5 tips that Joe helped you discover, right? So then that brings it back into the content piece. So again, imagine the wheel. Okay, if you're not watching this, I'll describe it. You see this circle, and there's arrows just connecting all the way around the wheel. So at the very start, it's content, goes into email, goes into products, goes into results, goes back into content. We just keep feeding that circle. That's it. And that to me is the brand success wheel, really. You know, it's the brand wheel of awesomeness, as I called it, but really it's the brand success wheel. If we focus on these areas, okay, to me, it's the long-term play and the short-term game, okay, and the win. Because again, going back to the product piece, if we focus on producing a small $10, $20 little digital product, we've got that thing. We can start testing and selling immediately. If we have an email list, we can let them know about it. We can also have that email list help us build it, right? And again, guys, this is what we're covering inside of Brand Accelerator Live, the 1-day event. So if you have not grabbed a ticket yet, I would encourage you to do so. This isn't just a 1-hour webinar where then you're going to be sold into something. This is the full day workshop. Like, there's no selling into anything from these. It's basically, I'm selling you on the idea that this is probably what you should focus on. And if you've been overwhelmed with, all of these ideas, but all of these courses you might have sitting on your shelf or whatever, right? If I can get your attention and sit with me for a full day and we go over all of these different things, you're going to be able to, at the very end, which I'm going to have a session at the end where I'm going to tie it all together for you. And then you're going to create your own roadmap from where you're at, right? And then you can go to work doing it, right? And then focus on those rocks, those big rocks, right? These different parts that move the needle, right? And not worry about Instagram, not worry about Periscope, not worry about any of those TikTok, any of the ones that are Snapchat, any of the ones that you've heard about that you're like, oh man, I got to get on that platform because they're saying it's a great opportunity. There's not a lot of people there yet, but there's going to be. And no, I don't want to do that. My time is worth more than that. And yours is too, right? So wouldn't it feel better to just think to yourself, wow, I only have to focus on this. I don't have to focus on learning this massive, complex SEO strategy, or I don't have to learn this complicated, 6-week funnel building training, right? Like, I don't want to do that myself, right? I want to focus on this. And I have just found that if we focus on the areas that are most likely going to work, why not work on them more? And then once you do this, here's a little caveat here, If you start doing this, you're going to probably start seeing results. And then when you see results, you can start to hone in on that area even more, right? So if you're starting to do this and you're starting to do some content, then you're starting to build your list, and then you're sending it over to there on that content. And then you're starting to see that you're starting to sell some products, or you're starting to get some traffic. It's going to make you say, oh, you know what? I should probably do more of that. right? I should probably do more of that. And now there is a shortcut to all of this too, as far as traffic goes. Because if you're building content for Google, it's going to take some time, right? You probably got to allow 3 to 6 months before you can even think you're going to start seeing any traffic, right? But if you build an email list, we can do it quicker because then we can send that traffic over to the content, right? The other thing we can do is we can use Facebook and start using Facebook ads. But again, I'm not telling you to go buy a 6-week training on how to master Facebook. What I'm telling you is I'm having Chris Schaefer come to Brand Accelerator Live for this one session. He's actually going to teach a couple of sessions, but this one in particular, he's going to break down a simplified version of what you can do, okay, to sell either your current physical products or the digital product if you have one, or if you're going to create one, because I'm going to show you how to create it also in that one session. And then once you have it created, then you're going to learn how to run basic, simple ads. Okay. And then from there, you can spend $5 a day, $10 a day and start testing things and get results. Once we get results, then we can tweak, right? You guys have heard me say that all the time, right? If we put something into action, there's a good chance we're going to get some type of result. And when we get that result, guess what? We get to ask questions. Wonder why that's not working. Or I wonder why that's working and that's not working, right? So that's what I'm talking about here, guys. We do not want to get overwhelmed. I'm trying to strip it all away for you, right? Because I know right now you're being yelled at from a whole bunch of different people probably in this, in this world of building a business online. I know that because I am, right? I'm trying to be that voice and also the one to kind of highlight it to you and say, listen, I've been at this a long time. In 5 years, ask yourself, is Google going to still be here and are people going to be using it? I think we would all say, yes, I agree. That is definitely the case, right? So I probably want to be in that index, right? The second thing would be like, okay, there's, a lot of potential for traffic, but what would be another one? Maybe Pinterest would be the one that you would choose. That's the one that I would choose, right? So then maybe I'll use that one. And those are the only 2 organic type traffic channels that I'm going to focus on right now. Maybe that's what you're going to do, right? So then we would move on and say, okay, what's another traffic thing that I would want to focus on? Email list, right? So there's 3. I got 3 traffic channels now, right? Google, I've got Pinterest, I've got email, okay? Then I go, okay, what's next? Products, offers, right? So what do I do here? Maybe I've already got 2 physical products. How do I build a digital product that might lead to the physical product? Which I actually just got off a call yesterday, like I was saying earlier, with a couple of our students inside the academy, and that's exactly where they're at. They have a physical product. They want to bring attention to it, but how do they do it? They're going to build a digital product that's going to lead to that thing. So instantly, they're going to actually take a free lead magnet, and then once they opt in for that, they enter their name and email address, they're going to get a special offer on the thank you page instantly, right? Then what we're going to do is once they're ready, because they have to build that first, the next step for them is to build a digital product that will actually be for sale, right? So that next move might be like, okay, let's switch out on the thank you page. Let's switch out and have it be a digital product for sale for $10. And then from there on that page, we might have an order bump, as we call it, which is super easy. And we might give a discount on our physical product. Okay. So that's what it's really, really simple if you think about it that way, right? So how do we create more offers in our brand? Well, you might say, I got to launch another physical product, but I don't have $5 or $7 grand right now to do that. And it's harder now to manufacture because of everything that's going on in the world. Why don't we start creating some digital products, right? Start thinking about what your market needs. What are they buying, right? What do they need help with? What's a small little solution that you could give them to make their life a little bit easier? And one big thing that a lot of people think, which I used to think this, but I don't anymore, is why would someone pay for it when they can just go search it for free? And I'll tell you why. Convenience. That's why. Convenience. Right now, I don't want to have to go find all of these different resources and do all of this stuff. I just want to download a guide that it's all there for me. And I'll pay $10, $20 for that because it's going to save me time. right? Time is valuable to us, right? And we're willing to pay for convenience. So never forget that, all right? Don't think just because something is free on the internet, you can't charge for it. You can. I've done it. I still do it, okay? So just keep that in mind. So products, big thing, right? And not just physical products, digital products. And let's build that out. And then from there, once we have some stuff in place, let's put a little system in place that we reach out through email, because now we have a buyer's list too, right? Once we have a buyer's list, that's a whole nother game. We go from a free email list to a buyer's list. Now with that buyer's list, guess what we need to do next? We need to reach out to those people. Hey, how's everything going, right? Is there any questions I can answer for you? And then you might say, hey, what's one thing that this product helped you achieve? And then they're going to tell you something. And then you're going to go, hey, great. Do you mind if I share that as a testimonial? Sure. And now you can put that in different areas that help sell your products, right? So that's the customer journey part, the support issue, right? And getting people a result. And that result could be just having better water, right? I mean, gosh, I just bought this complicated water system, right? I mean, I would have paid, a little bit more to have a detailed guide on what I needed to. I mean, they didn't give great instructions, right? But I paid additional for it. Why did I pay for it? Because I want better water. I wanted to know the ins and outs of water, right? Now they have a recurring model because they're going to sell me filters. And I necessarily wouldn't get into that market because you're kind of limited on the content, but you probably could, right? So the results though, they would need to follow up with me and go, hey, since you've been drinking your water, how do you feel? How does it taste? And then that would be a testimonial. They share that. And the more I get of those, guess what? That's convincing. It's the reviews in a sense that's on Amazon, but you can collect them yourself. So that's the results portion. And then we just keep feeding the wheel and just keep letting it, it's a flywheel really is what it is. Because once that thing gets rolling, there's no stopping, right? So guys, any quick questions before we wrap up this coffee talk? And we'll go ahead and we'll see what we got here. Let's see. Okay. Derek in the house. What's up? Late, but I'm here. Yes, you are. Let's see. What time during the day? It's 10 a.m. Eastern time. But if you can't make it the entire day, or even just for maybe one session, that's fine. We do have a VIP option. And right now, the time of this, this coffee talk, if it's before, I think September 6th or 7th, our early bird pricing is there where you'll save about $50. Yeah, Karen put it in the chat. Thank you, Karen, for putting that in there. Can you show that link? There it is, baltickets.com. Let's see. Okay, so Derek says, we must stop the shiny object madness using COVID-19 as the marketing strategy. Don't be lured to buy. Stay focused on building your business and your brand and marketing to your digital or physical product. I am focusing on digital and building my list. This workshop is a must for me. Yeah. I'm glad that you feel that way. Number one, that yes, the shiny object madness is there's a lot of people taking advantage of selling into the scare of COVID, right? And I don't want that to be a thing, right? Has the world changed? Has business changed? Yes, right? But if anything, I look at this as just being an eye-opener to what we should have been doing all along. Right. So to your point, there's a lot of people that are trying to make this seem as though you have to do this or you're going to lose everything. And that's not the approach here. The approach here is like, listen, this has been working for years. It's going to work more now. Is there going to be more traffic now for people looking for information? Yes. Will people be more willing to pay for it now than before? Yes. So, okay, that's just the market. It's changing, right? That's okay. Let's just do what we were going to do anyway. Right. So that's just my opinion on all of that. See the link now. What is the deadline to get it? And is the contents going to be available for review after the event? And I already answered that. And yes, the deadline for the early bird, I believe, is the Monday before, which I think is the 6th or 7th of September, whatever that Monday before is. And Derek says, we definitely need traffic and revenue. Yes. And yes, focusing on the wheel is important. Jonna says, love the wheel of awesomeness. Yes, that's what it's called. It's actually the brand success wheel, but I think the brand wheel of awesomeness sounds pretty cool. Let's see. Yes, we need simplicity. Some so-called gurus try to make it seem so difficult and overwhelm us. Yeah, and you know what? It's not about overwhelming at all. I really want to strip away as much as I can, but then there's going to be questions because I might not be able to go in detail in certain areas. But honestly, you don't need all of that fine stuff until you actually get into, the doing, right? And so what we're going to cover at this event is pretty much the step-by-step. Like, we're not going to go and make 20 minutes of why you need to do this, right? Like, if you were coming to a webinar, it would be like, okay, 10 minutes, 15 minutes is really me showing you, kind of like this here. Like what I just did today, I didn't teach you how to do content. I didn't teach you how to do email. I didn't teach you how to build products. I gave you some high-level stuff, but really this is just showing you that you should probably be focusing on this. And if you convinced yourself in your mind that, yeah, I probably should, then once we get to the workshop, the Brand Accelerator Live 2020, we're not going to go through all of this. We might touch on it just in the beginning, but then we're getting right into the meat of it, right? Then we're getting into, okay, I'm going to show you guys how to build a digital product from scratch and start selling it in 30 days. Boom. Now I just got to go to work teaching you, right? Like, okay, here we go. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. 3, do this. Step 4, do this, right? That's how that's going to work, right? So we can get that thing built just from that time that we have together there. Now, you're not going to build it right there with me, but you're going to be able to take that, go back, and then say, you know what? In the next week, I'm going to build this, right? And you'll have all the framework, all of the steps to do it, right? But the cool thing is like, then the next piece is like, okay, I've got this thing. Now, how do I get traffic to it if I want to, if I want to run paid ads? That's where I brought Chris Schaefer in, where he's going to teach a very simple way of running Facebook ads that you can set up really easily, and you can start them for $5 a day, $10 a day, and start getting traffic, right? So that's what that's built there for that piece. So that's not missed, in this how-to, right? So yes, everything is going to be simplified, but focus driven on getting it done and getting results. Let's see. Google is going nowhere anytime soon unless Bill Gates build it bigger or better. Yeah. How do we sign up for BAL if we are in the academy? Karen, there is going to be a special link in the academy, so you have time. Don't worry about it. We will be giving that out here very, very soon. Octavio, love the wheel. Can't wait for BAL. Wouldn't miss it. Thanks. Awesome, Octavio. And Wheel of Awesome is better than BSW brand success wheel. Yeah, I think so too, right? That sounds better. The brand wheel of awesomeness, or awesome. I like it. Let's see. Yeah, I like the over shoulder approach. Will you be using ConvertKit or something else? Pretty much we'll be using ConvertKit if we're doing anything email marketing or email list building, but there will always be, it's kind of like if you're looking at a fitness workout or something where they have like the main, trainer, and then they have someone else doing like a modified version. We'll kind of have that there too. So that way there, if you're using AWeber, it'll pretty much follow the same principles as far as doing that. So yes, it will be a lot like that. So guys, do me a favor though. Okay. If you're interested in joining us, we would love to have you. Again, this is so affordable. I did a full 2-day workshop at my lake house, and I did it for 2 businesses and their partners. It was like 4 people, and it was $4,500 per day each business. Okay. So basically let's cut that in half, right? It's like $2,200, right? This here is going to be less than $200, right? And if you do just the live pass right now, if you just want to just attend live, it's basically $99. So honestly, like it's as affordable as we can make it. And it's really about you getting as much value as you can. And I'll be totally upfront with you guys. I really want to over deliver here for you, because if you're not in the academy, eventually I'd love to have you be part of the academy. So again, full transparency here, right? Like, I'm doing this so I can knock your socks off with value, right? And yes, you're going to have a little bit of skin in the game, but you're going to get a tremendous amount of value. We're going to also, if you're there live, we're going to do live Q&A after each session. And we're going to do a live cocktail hour at the very end where we're going to hang out and we're going to have some special guests. So I would definitely recommend you guys attending. It's going to be awesome and I can't wait. But if you're looking to really simplify and focus on the main blocks, the main things in your business, what I just covered here, I strongly encourage you to attend. You really, really have nothing to lose because you're going to get so much value, and it's not going to be value that's going to overwhelm you. It's going to allow you, because at the very end, I'm going to actually tie it all together and make it so it's not overwhelming. And I'm going to make you create your own roadmap, your own plan. So I've got a really cool idea on how to teach you how to do that. So that's going to be happening too. So guys, that is pretty much going to wrap up this coffee talk. I hope you guys enjoyed the brand wheel of awesomeness, or the brand wheel of awesomeness. I like awesomeness. Yeah. And yeah, if you guys have any questions on Brand Accelerator Live, the virtual workshop, let me know. You can comment here. Also, let someone know. If you think that someone would get value from this, share it. BALtickets.com. Share it with someone. We'd love to have you spread the word. Help us spread, this message of let's focus on what really matters. Let's simplify. Let's make it less heavy and make it lighter and make it fun, right? And get results. That's what we want to do. All right. So, anyway, guys, I got to get going here. I got an interview coming up here in about 12 minutes. So I got to get rocking and rolling. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Friday, we're going to be doing a jam session. And on that jam session, we'll probably be talking a little bit more about what's to come at Brand Accelerator Live. And I'm going to dig into a few of those topics, but also I'm going to want your questions. So if you have any questions on what we covered here today on the brand wheel of awesomeness, submit them here. Let me know. And I'll do my best to answer them on our jam session. So Friday is going to be a Friday jam session. I would really love it for you to attend. And again, just invite a friend, whether it's to a coffee talk or if it's to Brand Accelerator Live 2020. All right, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, remember, take care, take action, and I will see you on Friday. Take care, guys.